Evening, everybody.
Evening.
So at this stage in the show, I normally take a photograph of the audience. So I'm going to ask you to smile because this might be the last time you do. Big smile, please. Big smile, please. Right. At least I can tell people you enjoyed it now. This is what we call a work in progress, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to go through some material. I call this bit the introduction. So it did take me a while to get here today because there was like 3 McDonald's and a Greggs between when I was here. So welcome to the show. Anyway, it's called Absolutely One-Liner Jokes. So pretty much explain what it is, haven't I? So just to let you know, I'm not as bad as I look. So I actually was voted the second best joke at the Edinburgh Fringe last year.
Clap, Roger.
Before I tell you the joke, does anybody know what the oldest profession is?
Prosecution.
I've spoken like a true expert. That's a great guess, by the way. But this is the joke. So the oldest profession has to be the DJ, because they've been around since records first began. I think that's an indication of how shite the jokes were. So, my granddad got addicted to Viagra. It didn't end well. He passed away watching his favourite movie, Die Hard. Now obviously because of the effects of the Viagra, we couldn't get the coffin lid closed. So we had to make a little glory hole in the top of the coffin so we could close the coffin. I have to admit that was the shittest game of whack-a-mole I've ever had. My grandma, she went on a diet. Got some on diet pills. It said on the label, you take 6 of these tablets a day for 6 weeks. You won't recognise yourself in the mirror. It worked. She got dementia. So, anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of music, just to ruin the mood. So this is what we call a ukulele. So, can you see me all right behind this? For a sec. So many years ago, I went on. Mistakenly, I booked what's called an 1830 holiday. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Now, I took 2 things from that holiday. The first was a suspected STD. And the second was this Russian folk song. So, if you know it, feel free to sing along. Any Russian speakers? Yet? Okay. It goes like this. If you drink, you will die. If you don't, you will die. So you might as well say, what the hell are drinking until you die? Now that song has stayed with me for 40 years. From when I was young to now, on holiday. So my hope is that now I passed it on to you, that you all will buy ukuleles and sing that song to everybody you know. And let's hope you get a better fucking reaction than I just did. So, this one, it's a 50s number. Don't know much about calculus. Don't know lost my job as a maths teacher. Let's call this one The Reluctant Rock Star. I don't want to be a rock star. I don't want to be a rock star. I don't want to be a rock star. All right then. This one, I think you'll like. It's topical. Grand old or the former Jim had 12 billion quid, gave it to somebody he didn't know, for something he'd never seen. Allegedly. So, I'll finish on this. Not the show. But this one is dedicated to British traffic. It goes like this. What does it? Yes, Steve. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So that was music. I've been getting some mad reviews lately. I think some of you may have written them. The first one said, "This guy is going to be huge." Yeah, that was from Slimmer's World. The second one said, "This guy is off the charts." That was from Diabetes UK. I think my favourite one was, "This guy is one to watch." Yeah, that was from the North Shropshire Police Surveillance Team. The intro of it. So, anyway, health. So, this show is absolutely one-liners, right? But it's about the important things in life, right? So, I've divided it into like 5 sections. The first one I think is important, especially when you get older. Time and health are the best things, aren't they? No? One person agrees, that's good. So my brother said to me, my brother's the dietitian of the family, self-appointed, and he said to me, "Kevin, at your age, you should be taking it easy on the fried food. You should be eating at least 2.5 kilograms of lettuce per week." Would you realise how many Big Mac size? Well, it's 36. So I said, "When was the doctors for check-up?" And she said, "I think you're an acute alcoholic." I said, "Thank you very much, you're not too bad yourself." So I think I might have insomnia. She said, "Do you want a prescription?" I said, "Let me sleep on it." I said, "Nobody takes me seriously." She said, "You're joking." I said, "Can I have a second opinion?" She said, "Yes, you're also a prick." She recommended I go and see a counsellor. So I went to see a counsellor for 6 months and eventually got me planning permission from him. So a couple of years ago, because I'm getting old, I got diagnosed with cataracts in both eyes. And, after an operation, that was an eye-opener. So when I turned 60, my brother said to me, he said, "Let's do something crazy for your 60th birthday." He said, "Let's take down the statue of Isaac Newton for his excessive use of force." I said, "Are you sure you've considered the gravity of the situation?" So I actually look forward to my birthdays now, because this year, every year on my birthday since I was 60, you get a lovely present from the NHS. Does anybody know what it is?
Screening kit.
bowel cancer screening. Yeah. Fun for all the family, that isn't it? So you have to take bowel cancer seriously because it's the number 4 killer of older people. Although you'd think it would be the number 2 killer, really, wouldn't you? That's a solid joke, isn't it? Now, I always get confused with the instructions because it's asking for stools and I've only got chairs. I'm going to send you a little probe about that big. Take a sample. Now, I've been called a dipshit many times in my life, but I never thought I'd be one. And it says you need a sterilised container for the poo. Now, I didn't have any sterilised containers. The only containers I had were in the freezer, and they're all full of curry. Yeah. I thought I'd have to use one of them. I took the curry out first, obviously. So I had to poo in this container. And then it said, a little chemistry kit, it said, do not put excessive poo into the envelope. And I have to say, I put a lot of poo in a lot of envelopes in my life. Mainly to ex-girlfriends and Boris Johnson. But even I didn't know how much poo to put into an NHS envelope. So I had to Google it, and it said, I had to Google how much poo is too much poo to put into an NHS envelope from this sample. And unfortunately, that will always be in my search history. Now, when I finished, I thought, what am I going to do with this tub of poo? I thought, I don't want to have to go through this again just in case I haven't sent enough. I better keep this. So she's done it. So I had to put it back in the freezer. What you might call a poopsicle. Unfortunately for me, I forgot to take the label off the box, didn't I? So to resolve the issue, I've decided to have a curry gambling night. Russian roulette, if you like. I'm going to invite Boris Johnson. You one clap. Now, he's got more. Now I can say I got the clap at Oakengates, can't I? So, health-wise, when you get older, you get lots of things wrong, you know. So actually, I went to do a comedy competition in Manchester, and for the sake of anonymity, let's call the club the Frog and Bucket on Oldham Road. So now I actually ended up breaking some fingers that night. And when the MC went on stage, he said, tonight's show we're going to have 3 breaks. I didn't realise he meant my fingers. And it went really well. I was runner-up that night in the show, so it wasn't that bad. In fact, my ex phoned me up and said, "That's really good, Kevin. That's the first time you've ever come second." So on the way home, I fell over and broke some fingers on the way to get the last train. So I had to go straight to A&E when I got home. And of course, it was a Monday night. It wasn't busy. There was only like 60 people there. So it's okay. So because I'd had a bit of a fall, they had to do what's called triage. And they have to check you for a concussion, don't they? Now at the time we did about 3 or 4 prime ministers in the space of about 6 months, haven't we? You know, that's about that. And guess what the question is? You ask you for triage. Who's the prime minister? Now I thought if I get this wrong at my age, I'll end up in a care home, won't I? So I was brutally honest. I said, I'm 45 now. I haven't looked in the newspapers today. He goes, it was a trick question, this one time, a bit of a laugh with you. I said, okay. So he said, get yourself back out there. And about 6 hours later, he called me and he said, you're 14th in the queue. I was like, really? Who's in front of me then? I've got broken fingers. He said, well, there's a guy with projectile vomiting. There's a couple of guys who've had heart attacks. There's been a car crash, 4 people injured. And there's a guy with a ketchup bottle stuck up his arse. That was just one of the doctors, by the way. And I said, look mate, I'm not into this medical talk points. Where I'm from, that's just a good night out. So the next morning, they sent me off to a place called minor injuries. Have you heard of that? That's the next level in the game, any minor injuries. It's great stuff to send you there to get checked. So when I arrived, the nurse said to me, I'm sorry about your weight. I said, it's not your fault, I live near a Greg's. He said, well, you're going to have to go to X-ray. And it's a big hospital, I didn't know where it was, so I got a bit lost. And then they said, you've got dislocated, broken fingers and stuff. So I said, oh no. I said, well, make your way back to minor injuries and we'll arrange an appointment with a bone doctor. Unfortunately, I got lost on the way back, didn't I? Yeah. So there's a big security guard in the corridor. So I said to him, excuse me mate, I'm looking for minor injuries. So he punched me in the face. He says, is that okay? I said, that's fine. But I'm actually trying to find the department. So I got back to the department and they said, well, you're going to have to come back in because we're going to have to reset your fingers. So I said, but I'm really proud of myself that day because when he started pulling my fingers, I didn't fart once. By the way, the punch in the face joke didn't happen. I just needed a punchline for that. So that was fun. So the next section, let's call this. I wish I knew what it was called. That's not the title, by the way. Let's go for relationship, shall we? So, I've had a bit of bad luck lately, give me an arm. Oh. My girlfriend left me. Oh. She said she preferred the puzzle books to me. It's true. But 5 years together and never a crossword. She also said I was old-fashioned because she used to send Mama dick pics in black and white. By post. And fax. That's probably why she lost the job at the post office. Now when I was young, some of you may remember, there wasn't any internet and there wasn't any smartphones, so if you wanted to send a dick pic those days, you'd have to draw it, wouldn't you? Draw it on a sheet of paper, send it off in the mail. So that's exactly what I did. And it got to the point where I couldn't look the postman in the eye. I probably should have done the drawings on the inside. Now the last time I told that story, the poor old lady on the front row started crying. So I said, look mum. So since she left me, I've been doing a lot of mad stuff. So I started watching, look at some of these wildlife programs. You like wildlife programs? I think some of you might have been in them. So in fact, I was watching one the other day with David Attenborough. I've got no idea he got in my living room. The program was asking the question, what separates us from the apes? Well, in my case, it's the restraining order. I tried doing archery in the fog. Missed. been trying to teach my dog to roll over and beg. Got really good at it. He came on with £4.27 the other day. A bag of dog biscuits. He let me keep the biscuits though, which is good. And the next bit is about dating. So, has anybody tried any of these apps? Yeah. Anybody admit to trying them? Well, I've not been very successful with the apps, to be honest with you. I don't know why. Anyway, I actually. What do you mean? You don't laugh. I've not been very successful with the app. I consider like these dating apps to be a lot like doing comedy in Oakengates. And you have to travel. And that you have to travel long distances to perform badly for up to an hour if you're lucky. But I did read somewhere. So I did read somewhere that women, with all this AI stuff and what have you, women would rather be pleasured by a robot than a human being these days. Is that true? So I've changed my profile name to R2D2. But I was lucky enough to meet one really nice lady. Her name was Danny. That's Danny with one eye. She had a patch over the other eye. I remember our first date. That was yesterday. She brought a sister to the date, can you imagine? So I've got two of them there. The sister was called Claudia. She's a lover girl. I've got these two women there. I thought, what am I going to do? So I thought I'd better take them somewhere romantic. So I took them to Weatherspoons. So after they had a few pints of wine, they started to get very friendly towards me. And they offered me a menage a trois. I had to decline because I don't normally drink lager. That's a stellar joke, by the way. We got on really well. She turns out she was a psychic fortune teller. She never laughed or smiled, much like some of this audience. She wasn't a happy medium. No, brother was into the same sort of stuff. The brother, he had a crystal ball, which is probably why he walked funny. So we got on really well. In the end, they invited me to a brother's wedding. Yeah, I must admit, I got a little bit drunk that day, and I got so drunk that I actually fell into the wedding cake. I was in tears. Before I could get my clothes back on, I was being tasered by a really good-looking policewoman. Yeah. She was a stunner. But she didn't charge me. I was buzzing. It's a shocking story, that, isn't it? Of course, that went nowhere. So, a bit like a joke. But this next bit's a little bit edgy. Are you alright with that? Should I do it?
Yeah.
Two people, that's alright with me. Not as edgy as it seems. So, I actually saw her in town the other day, and I thought, she's let herself go. I should have used a better padlock, really. I like to call her the one that got away. That's relationship covered. What's next? Yeah. So money and work. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to do it, don't we? They're important, but not in a good way. And also, I'm covering hobbies and time in this section. So, now, I was actually in a business meeting earlier today with a bunch of waiters. Yeah. I just wanted to see what they could bring to the table. Say that one out. So the neighbours, as they go at me, watching them through my binoculars. Well, I can see where they're coming from. I've been trying to make a sex tape. I've not been able to finish it though because the neighbours keep closing the curtains. They're all a lovely couple though. I was around their house the other day doing a bit of wine tasting. I just thought they don't find out. Has anybody ever been to one of those bottomless brunches? Tried them? It's like drink as much as you want, isn't it? Eat and drink as much as you want. It's called bottomless brunch. Now I went to one and they wouldn't let me in until I put my trousers back on. Does anybody know? This is a question for the audience. Does anybody know where bungee jumping was invented?
New Zealand.
New Zealand? That's what I thought.
Ah.
It's actually, any other guesses? I thought it was New Zealand.
Cleethorpes.
Huh?
Cleethorpes.
Yeah, that's the unofficial version. But it turns out it's France. I mean, I know this is true because I looked it up in Wikipedia. I know it's true because I wrote it, right? So let's, for the sake of this joke, let's just say it's France. So, in fact, to be precise, they're doing. So, does anybody like Guinness?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Guinness. Yeah. I like it a lot. I mean, I also, because I'm old, I like records and books. And weirdly, I'm not keen on the Guinness Book of Records. So what's your name, sir?
Paul.
Paul, I'm going to ask you a question from the Guinness Book of Records. See if you can answer it. Now, to the nearest kilogram, what's the heaviest kilograms Chinese dumpling in the world?
240.
Ooh, a number, not from the menu, Paul. 100 kilograms. 140 kilograms. Is that a good guess?
No.
Is it higher or lower?
Whoa.
Higher.
No.
It's actually higher. Have another guess, Paul.
780.
780, that's a good guess, Paul. Kilograms. It's closer. Now we've got an hour, Paul. So we'll keep going till you get it right, alright? I'll put you out of your misery. It's actually 1,000 kilograms. Yeah? Because it's a 1 ton dumpling. I had to such a lovely day today. I thought I'd spend the morning cutting the grass. Well, he deserved it. Not like what do snitches get?
Stitches.
Stitches, yeah. Well done. One person. I'd expected more of you than that. But, anyway, you just killed the mood by that. Anyway. So, I recently got offered a job as a roofer. Fell through. Now that job was voted in the top 10 jokes of the Leicester Comedy Festival, which shows how shite the Leicester Comedy Festival is. So Yeah. Does anybody like DIY? DIY? I'm terrible at DIY. So I had to get somebody around the other day for a quote for a shelf. I said to the guy, how much for the shelf, mate? He said, 50 quid. I said, can you put it up for me? He said, okay, 55 quid. I've actually written a poem about the dangers of DIY. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway. You don't have a choice. So it goes like this: B&Q, DIY, FFS, SOB, WTF, OMG, 999, A&E, CPR, ECG, DOA, RIP, LOL, never mind. So has anybody been watching the news lately? Have you watching the news? So I was watching it. I mean, you should watch it. There's some good wars on there at the moment. So I was watching it the other day and I saw a story. They were talking about banning pencils and rulers in schools. And where do you draw the line? You notice how I didn't move when I told that story because it's a stationary joke. And also on the news they were talking about, you know, when we stole the marbles from Greece. Got a bit upset about it, didn't they, having marbles? We've been making a bit of fuss. So we did a nice little trade deal with them. Yeah, so from now on all future imports of Greek cheese will be unfettered. Some people find that joke a bit grating. Anyway. So the woman in the local cafe hates me because I told her I was a journalist. Nobody likes journalists, do they? So when she asked me, she said, Kevin, how do you like your bacon sandwiches? Do you want HP or ketchup on your bacon sandwiches? So I can't reveal my sources. I got a bit of bad luck, a bit of bad news the other day. My line dancing teacher had to step aside. You'll figure it out on the way home. So when I was young, I always fancied being a bit of a plumber. So in fact, I recently did a plumbing course. I suppose it was a pipe dream, really. I actually like plumbing that much that I bought a manual. Yeah? The Art of Wrenches. It was gripping. And heart-wrenching at the same time. I did a plastering course. Wasn't very good. We barely skimmed the surface. This is what I call the low point in the show. You can tell I was running out of writing at this point. So yeah, I bought a book called Self-Motivation for Beginners. Couldn't be asked to read it. I didn't tell you. So, what supermarkets do you shop at? Aldi, yeah. I was in Aldi the other day because MIG welders were on sale. And I actually got barred from Aldi, fruit and veg section. I tried to take a leak. Just like that. So, any people like saving the planet, ecology, all that kind of stuff? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about the planet, don't we? So I've actually got solar panels and all that stuff. I mean, I'll be honest, when it comes to wind turbines, big fan. I really like wheelie bins as well. Right up my alley. Right, I'll leave that one out. Right, so yeah, they're actually introducing. I don't know if they're doing it yet. They're introducing new bins for leftover food. Yeah, have you seen that? Little bins? People are using them for plant pots and all sorts of things. I don't understand why they gave me one of those, because do I look like a leaf food? Right. Next section. Let's do work and hobbies. Oh, it's done work and hobbies, haven't I? What have I got left? This is what happens when you don't keep track of your notes. The relationships. Family, let's do family. So, I know, it's a nightmare, isn't it? So, my brother is a big fan of hip-hop. Do you like hip-hop? Some of you look like you might need a hip-hop. My brother called me up the other day and said, Kevin, I said, what? He said, that monster, Puff Daddy, he's only going to change his name again. I said, did he? He said, I bet you can tell you the name of Kim Kardashian's ex-husband. I said, can you? He said, that's not his name anymore. I said, yay. Now, my dad always used to say to me, you should never call anybody average. It's me. So yeah, I actually gave him some new bedding the other day. He turned it down. So I write this shit. I can't believe it. So he's actually bought one of those little Vietnamese hot pigs. You know, those little pets. Actually, he paid £200 for a bath. I said, that's hogwash. Now, do we remember a few years ago when they banned plastic flowers from Remembrance Day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember this? We actually have to use paper flowers now, right? Now, my brother, he was very upset about that. He phoned me up and said, Kevin, you won't believe this. They've actually banned plastic flowers from Remembrance Day. There were 2.5 million plastic flowers left over that year. I said, what did they do with them? He said, well, they recycled them, made them into dildos. I said, that's poppycock. So, now he's a big fan of sex before marriage. I mean, that's why he's barred from the local register office. Now, you won't believe this, but when I was little, I didn't have any friends. Oh. In fact, I go as far as to say everybody hated me. Oh. What makes that really sad is that I was homeschooled. My mother always used to say to me, she'd say, Kevin, you were born on a Sunday lunchtime and I missed my Sunday lunchtime in the hospital, and that's the best meal. All the other meals were shite except that one, and I missed it. So I said, I'll make it up for you someday. So when I got my first pay slip, I took her out. So get your coat and went out. So I took her on a Sunday, I took her to the best hospital canteen I could find. So what's left? I think I've lost the sheet. Anyway, in relationships, haven't I?
Yeah.
I think I might be in trouble here. I forgot. I think I was. So, yeah. So, any questions while I'm waiting? Missed a section. What time is it now? That's about 55 minutes or something, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, I'll see if I can find any random jokes that I've written down there. Oh yeah. So, you won't believe this, but there are several people in the world with the name Kevin O'Brien, right? So there are. In fact, there's a famous sportsman called Kevin O'Brien, Irish cricketer. He's in the Caribbean, retired, multimillionaire, and I'm here, right? So you won't believe it, but a lot of people get the two of us confused, don't they? Because of our names. So, I mean, only last week, I got 3,000 of his fan mail messages, and he got all 3 of mine. They were Bill's. But sometimes, some of his fans have been known to come to my shows by accident, in confusion, whether it's him or me. And one little old lady, she came in with 2 carrier bags, and she sat there and watched the show, and she came over and said, "That's very nice." She said, "I think I've got the wrong place." I said, "I always used to get confused between you two Kevin O'Briens, but I think it's the other one that does stand-up comedy." So I went for my monthly walk afterwards, and I saw this poor old lady. She collapsed in the street with the heat and the shocking and everything. And in the 2 bags, in the left hand she had a bag of lentils, in her right hand she had a bag of chickpeas. So I rushed over and took a pulse. And there is an happy ending. There is an happy ending to that story, because I got a lovely veggie curry out of it. She died, unfortunately. So many years. When I first started doing comedy last week. I wrote a book. Now it's a real book. It's on Amazon. Don't read it, nobody else did. And the book is called My First Year in Stand-Up Comedy. It's a real book. And after tonight's experience, I'm going to write a follow-up book called My Last Year in Stand-Up Comedy. Thank you very much for all the audience.
Well, I think we can say, ladies and gentlemen,